So our first question is, why does the darkness track the traveler? To answer this, we first need to explain what the traveler is. Looking at the 4 Ghost Fragment Human Grimoire cards, we find ourselves on the shoes of Eris 1, the first manned mission to Mars, comprised of 3 individuals, Jacob Hardy, Mihailova, and Kiao. Hardy, the pilot of the mission, describes the first contact with the artifact, as they called the Traveler then. He states that it wasn't our weapons that won the day, it was our ship, our training, our camaraderie, our belief that if we just reached out to the universe, not to grasp for profit or security, but with an open hand, we would be elevated. With an open hand, not with the edge of a blade or the threat of a gun. These 3 humans stood on a high ridge and saw the shape of the future before them in the form of this alien artifact we now know as the Traveler. They witnessed the possibilities that were available to those who could harness the slippery irreality of light and saw what was known as the end of the era of human self-sufficiency. And when Hardy is asked about the end of that era, he answers with the fact that no one could witness such an event and remain unchanged. That really seems to be what the Traveler is. Change, elevation, a catalyst to the golden ages of those civilizations it stops to shelter and nourish. Apparent to us, its children who now have become its guardians. But that gift came with a price, because something as dark as the Traveler was bright chased it, hunted it through the vast emptiness of space as it moved from one culture to the next. We know this force as the darkness. There are many theories as to what the darkness is. Ideas such as the Pajari position, Saint 14's position, Ulan Tan's thesis, the Monist position, and the acolyptic clause are only some of the more well-known responses to the question. Some even whisper that the collapse we experienced due to the arrival of the darkness was caused by the Traveler itself, though these groups are quickly labeled as heretical by the speaker, as was the case of the binary star cult. But what we do know for certain about the darkness is this. When this darkness arrived, our golden age fell, collapsed. Similar to the whirlwind which ripped apart the Elixni civilization and caused their fall, our own collapse nearly wiped humanity off the map. Yet our destruction was merely collateral damage to the battle which raged over us. The struggle of light and dark, the Traveler against the worm gods. Within the Books of Sorrow, we find fragments of information about this eternal war that humanity has only recently been made aware of. As many suspected, this conflict was bigger and much, much older than we thought. But as with many wars, the difference which separates the sides seems to be rather, well, black and white. Cooperation and competition. The Traveler, who we find in the books to be an agent of a force called the Sky, promotes the philosophical approach of cooperation. It calls for an adopting of what is identified as allocentrism, which is the making of others as the center of one's attention and actions, focusing on the other primarily instead of yourself. The worm gods, agents of the deep, which many believe to be synonymous with the darkness, professes the opposite. They claim that existence is the struggle to exist, that in order to exist, you must prove that you deserve that right. You must prove this right through power, through the logic of the sword. Toland, a guardian warlock, described the sword logic as the truth that lies at the foundation of everything. This is the war which determines the fate of everything and everyone. According to this view, there is no room in the universe for allocentrism. This is the world with one law, a blind law that exists without mind or meaning. There is no morality. There is only the logical approach promoted by the edge of a blade, the shape of victory. And that victory requires the universe to exist only by the consent of the victor. Anything else is, to be frank, unacceptable. Anything else shows the truth that one has not won. You are not yet the final shape, as there is something that still opposes you, something that is still able to challenge your claim to existence. And this is why the darkness hunts the traveler at its core. It isn't a matter of good and evil or right and wrong in the eyes of the deep. It's merely a matter of proving the right to exist. In the eyes of a believer of the logic of the sword, to do any less would not only be a betrayal of the tenets of their existence, but to become an abomination of the universe. So that wraps this episode of Lore 101 up. Hope you guys enjoyed the video and look forward to answering future questions you guys have about the lore of Destiny. Please be sure to let us know in the comments below or through an email to focusfirechat@gmail.com your thoughts on the ideas presented here, and if you have any other questions or if you just want us to delve a bit deeper into the subject. Also, please be sure to hit that like button to let us know that we're doing alright. Catch you guys later, and as always, the Lore Band marches on.